Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby. It's not a Sunday chat, it's a daily chat because we are in the middle of the week again, having another live stream chat with another YouTuber this time. I hope everyone is doing okay, and I notice we've got a few people coming in already. We've got Rob, Sanity Checkers, hello Ryan, hello Surf, and hello Sean. Good to see you all already. Johnny Smart's in the house. Good to see you. Hope everyone's all right. Well, without further ado, I received an email from a YouTuber called Clown World YT about a week ago asking if we could do a live stream together. So I thought, hey, what the hell? So without further ado, may I bring him on and introduce him. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy days, happy days. How we doing? Hey. I just realised your name's a bit of a tongue twister. I don't know if it's just me and it's been a long day, but your name is a bit of a tongue twister. Have you ever had a chance? Well, I'm sure I could just Andy the Gabby Cabby. I'm sure I could. You may have done a few videos re-recording that one.
Andy the Gabby Cabby. I suppose it could be a tongue twister, couldn't it? If
wait, you know what? I think I said caddy.
Yeah, I think you said caddy as well. I've actually got golf clubs around here somewhere. Oh dear. Blood Nose is in the house as well. He's one of my moderators, long time supporter of the channel, and my best mate Dave is in the house as well. So hello to both of those. Well, thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for kind of saying let's do a live stream together. It's kind of better when there's two people chatting instead of chatting to yourself. I don't know what you think about that.
No, 100%, 100%. I do enjoy speaking to the audience. I recognise the name Blood Nose. He was in my one of my lives, and yeah, it's nice to just sort of, yeah, like you said, talk to someone rather than just sort of talk to comments, because you can just sort of react live and sort of get their opinion on things. And yeah, no, it's interesting. It's been an interesting journey, and yeah, you're one of the sort of very few. I did one with Absolutely Average, and yeah, that was it. So other than that, there's no sorts of conversations, but yeah, it's just nice to sort of speak to someone. And yeah, no, I enjoy your content, and I do enjoy your work ethic as well. And I'm sure the audience would agree that you have a pretty decent work ethic. You know,
thank you very much.
From daily uploads to sleeping in the car and stuff. It's I'm sure the audience appreciate it.
I had 20 minutes shut eye before I got in the garage. No, I years ago, before I had a family and all the rest of it, I only done the bare minimum necessary to get by, and that doesn't get you anywhere. And now I've got a family and all the rest of it. I work my arse off, not boasting or anything. I literally work my arse off for them, for me, for everything else. And every now and again, you just need to shut your eyes for 20 minutes, and then it all feels all right.
Yeah.
One person I want to shout out to as well is Sanity Checkers, Ryan, because he reached 2,000 subscribers. So well done, Ryan.
Happy days. And happy days. It's a good milestone.
Also, Paz49 as well put a big advert out that he's reached 40,000 subscribers and about 11 million views. So he's doing all right as well. So well done to them. But going back to yourself, why the hell did you do the same as me and get yourself wrapped up in all this YouTube business in the first place? Where did it start for you?
Nah, good question, and I'll probably ask you I'll ask you the same one shortly. Okay. Yeah, so like it just after so obviously I was like highly political pretty much my entire life, and beyond sort of like the age of 10, 12, things like that, and just sort of absorbing content over lockdown. Like I worked from home during lockdown, so I could just sort of, you know, watch YouTube and things like that, whilst obviously, you know, working obviously. And I was just absorbing so much content. Admittedly, it was mostly American content at the beginning. Paz is in the chat. Congratulations, Paz, on the 40,000. That's well deserved. On the sidetrack, if anyone's here, Paz is genuinely, he's top man, absolutely nice guy. He really is. I've reached out to him a few times, and he's top man. Exactly as he appears in his videos. But yeah, no. So I was saying that it's the reason why I started was you just there's so many sort of news articles and things happening that everyone always says, oh, it's just one thing, it's just one thing, it's just one thing. But when it's been sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 years of quote just one thing, they start to add up, and there sort of reaches a point where you think, nah, I'm not really gonna sort of just sit idly by and just sort of let it go by unnoticed. And I think I just sort of not saw like a sort of a gap in the market, so to speak, but it was mostly one summer night. I had a few to drink, and I was just sort of I saw something on Instagram, and it was basically just sort of a white and a black thing, obviously to do like a racial thing, and I just sort of made a video from that, and it's not very good. It's still up on YouTube, but it ain't very good. As your first is your worst, as they always say. But yeah, long story short, I just thought I could. I just thought I had a perspective that I thought I didn't really share, but it turns out that quite a few people do share with me, and yeah, I'm really appreciative of that, because it's a mix of stress, enjoyment, jubilation, and stress again. Twice, it's in there twice, but yeah, it's all good. And what about yourself as well?
Well, before I tell you mine, I just want to thank Willie Ian Cordes for the $2 super chat. Appreciate independent media. I appreciate you and all the other subscribers. So thank you very much for that, Willie. Much appreciated.
He's good. And that beard as well. He's always in my chat, and that beard. Yeah. If that's him, that's strong.
That's impressive. Thank you very much. Yeah. Why did I start? Well, I run an airport business, as is well publicised. And come March 2020, when Boris told us all to stay at home, stand on our doorsteps, clap the NHS and save lives and all that other malarkey, everything just went, yeah. I was very frustrated, very annoyed, lost about 20 grand's worth of work overnight, and my entire world, apart from my family, just went bang. And it didn't feel good. And I'm one of these where if I have something to say, I want to say it somehow. And I started sitting in this very garage. I got an exercise bike just there, and I was perched on that with my mobile phone, making little videos. I've always dabbled with YouTube for a few years, actually. There's actually a couple of channels probably out there somewhere with my boat race on or my voice, if you can find them. I know they're there somewhere that never did very well. And when I did these videos, eventually I got noticed. I did a video about somebody that is currently serving time at His Majesty's pleasure. And they reached out to me, gave me some hints and advice and a little bit of a boost. And I just went with it. And I thought, I've got to carry on. And it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't know if you find it with YouTube channels. You end up with a community of people underneath you or by your side without realizing it. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the chat right now, and I know where quite a big chunk of these people are in the world. And it's global. They all come in. They all like what you say. They all get on with each other. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And you discover this, and it's wonderful. I love doing it. I don't think I'll ever stop. I mean, we all get our share of trouble with it every now and again, as everyone else does. But once you learn to handle that and ride with it, it's really, really rewarding. I mean, I'll give you an example right now. There, that's my mum.
Bless her. Bless her.
Yeah, but that's mine, and I just try and. I mean, the airport business, particularly post the virus. I won't mention the C word just in case.
No,
it's gone absolutely nuts. And it's gone bananas, and it's trying to run that around this. Things have changed, different dynamic in life. I love it. I mean, what do you do in the real world? What's your job?
I work in it's basically like car finance. and
Okay.
yeah, so it's basically like I get to see. It's basically his customer service slash sort of dealing with their sort of financial drama and things like that. And it's just on a day-to-day basis, just seeing the sort of financial heartache that can come from having an overpriced car.
Right.
It's not great. Just I don't like car finances and things like that. I mean, to be fair, like used cars are okay, depending on the value, but when it's like a 35 grand Mercedes, no is the answer to that one. It's just not needed.
Bit
But
over the
yeah,
top, isn't it?
yeah, I try and always I do my bit for I mean, I think if there is a heaven, I think Jesus would take a look at my channel and think, no, you're not getting into heaven. But I try and mitigate that with telling every single customer that I speak to that they can sell the car, get rid of the finance, and basically just get a cheaper car. My boss hates it. He's like, stop telling them they can sell the car. I'm like, they shouldn't have it. But yeah. And like you were saying, everything's changed since COVID, and sort of working in finance with double-digit inflation. I mean, that's just affected everyone and blown everything out of the water. And I think the feelings that you felt, where you were saying how I can't remember the word you used, but everyone is sort of feeling that same unease, and it just doesn't feel. I mean, I would pretty much agree that everyone in the chat would probably agree as well that things really aren't the same as they were. They feel off to what they were. And I'm not, obviously I'm younger than yourself, and I miss the good old days. So I can only imagine sort of, people older than myself must really miss the good old days, because they'd probably even say, oh, clown, you don't even know what the good old days were.
Well, how old are you? Are you in your 30s, in your 20s?
Yeah, no, 30s. Yeah, just gone into my 30s.
Right, gotcha. So I'm a little bit more grey around the edges than you by the sound of it.
Yeah.
LS, thank you very much for the £5 super chat, token of appreciation. Much appreciated. Thank you for the support. Appreciate it. I mean, here's one here, Gary. He's in America. It's an example.
Perfect. Yeah.
From everywhere. But I mean, putting my tinfoil hat on for a second, I believe that things are happening and things are being made to be difficult because they want to come up with this grand solution to it, make it sound like it's better than what we had before. So they're grinding our noses into the dirt with high inflation, high electricity bills, high food shopping, things disappearing off the shelf like eggs. I mean, Christ, you go down my local Tesco's, if you go at the wrong time of day, you're not having scrambled eggs on toast until
you pretty much every time that you check the online shop, because I do a lot of online shops because I just don't like people, so I just try and stay away from places. But you can't get eggs on an online shop. On like a rare occasion you can, at least maybe not just around me, but I mean, I live in a village, so you'd think that we're good for eggs. We've got there's got to be some chickens around here somewhere, but you can't really get them on an online shop. And like so the point you were making there about sort of like the politicians and they're sort of trying to build back and everything like that. And that's one of the sort of things that sort of like concerns me most, because like I know I make a lot of jokes on the channel, but like I am legitimately concerned because, and I'll try and explain it in a way that sort of makes sense. But so I haven't explained it before, so I don't know how to sort of put the point across. But basically, I rotate in between two perspectives of the government can't fix it or the government don't want to fix it. And some days I think they can't fix it. Other days I think that they simply don't want to fix it. And the issue is when they say things like build back better, and Boris had that phrase and Biden obviously had the build back better phrase, their idea of better isn't my idea of better. Their idea of better is taxing you to drive into your city, taxing you so you don't have a car. Their idea of build back better is basically just have zero energy output and zero fun. That's not my idea of building. Like that, it really was a reset. When we went through with the sea that shall not be mentioned, it really was a reset in the terms that it gave them that opportunity to build back better. And like I said, their idea of building back, like, why don't you just rebuild what we had? And I know it was a shaky house of cards, but you know, it was our shaky house of cards, and now they're just trying to cringe it like no one's business.
I read a thing probably a year ago now to do with WEF, W.E.F, another thing that the YouTube algorithm doesn't like very much. So we'll talk in code. Easy Tiger in the comments has just mentioned the very same.
Yeah.
You know, this thing that I read said that they've wanted to implement different things for a long time, and what happened to us all that started in 2020 was just the opportunity they needed to strike, and all of a sudden, bang, there you go. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Build Back Better. There was a photo I saw. There was Boris Johnson, Biden, someone in, I think, Palestine. So, you know, completely weird place to think about something like that. France, Spain, loads of other places. And they were the leaders of these individual countries. And they were behind the pulpit, and there was a saying, a slogan on the front of each one: Build Back Better. And the moment I saw that, I thought, that's coordination.
Yeah, we just said that. So So real photo of them at different events around the globe would build, because I thought it was just Boris and Biden. I'll have to have a look for that photo. That would
I'll try and find it again. It was on Twitter, and it was about a year ago. But there was about 4 or 5 different world leaders, and the same slogan was on there. I mean,
crazy.
You look at something a bit more localized, ULEZ, and you know I've been doing a lot of material about that.
Rightly so.
We all think that it's Khan. I call it the Khan tax. He probably won't like that very much. I don't know whether
or he would.
Well, yeah. Well, it'll get TFL out of the shit. That's the thing. Yeah, I don't know if you saw my live I did with Howard Cox, and we talked, you know, a fair bit about that sort of thing. Underlying with that, there's the C40 Cities group. Have you heard of them?
They ring a bell.
Yeah. Well, while you were talking, I got their website, and I'll just pull that up for the folks to see. Screen.
This guy's tech savvy, guys. I don't pull up anything on my live streams. There's none of that. I'd be too worried someone would go wrong. This guy's pulling stuff up.
Yeah, I'll tell you, StreamYard is brilliant. You can pull in videos, websites. I think you can have up to 10 guests. It really is something. And there's a channel in America called Police Off the Cuff, who I follow, a couple of retired NYPD police detectives. And they use StreamYard, and I heard it, and I thought, I'll give it a go. And it's completely web-based. It's brilliant. But anyway, this is the website for the C40 Cities group. C40 is a global network of mayors of the world's leading cities that are united in action to confront the climate crisis. It's a load of mayors. There's New York, Paris, London, I think a couple of places in Germany, just all worldwide, global. And they all have one thing in mind if you drill down their website. Let's get rid of the cars. And the current chairman, when I checked last, or at least they were, Sadiq Khan. And that says a lot, that on its own, the agenda.
Yeah. No, it's like you said earlier on, it really does seem coordinated. And they really just well, first of all, they obviously really hate cars, but it just seems completely unwarranted, because things like ULEZ, like I know you said you've been making a few ULEZ videos, but like I said, rightly so, because ULEZ is one of those things where, like, I mean, there's a few Americans in the chat. I know Willie is Arizona, and there's a few of them, there's the Texan obviously earlier on, but like, I always just think, like, I would love to sit down with the founding fathers of America and just because obviously they would have known about places like London, they would have known about Belfast, Oxford, they would have known about all those cities. And if I could go back in time and say to the founding fathers, in London, we got to pay £12.50 to drive our vehicle into London. Like, to them, that would be, and the Americans can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but that to them would be a grab the musket, we're going in moment over Sadiq Khan doing his ULEZ. And I think obviously we're a bit more civilized than, 1700s odd America. But you can't charge people to just drive in their city. I think that's just fundamentally, it's just wrong. And he should get all of the stick in the world. And just sorry to cut you off, but someone put in the chat quite at the beginning about how Sadiq Khan keeps getting voted in. I can't remember who it was, but I really, obviously I know how Sadiq Khan keeps getting voted in. He's basically just got his quote unquote mates around him voting him in, if you know what I mean. And I don't understand. Well, it just doesn't make any. He in a real world with a real vote, he shouldn't be voted in. It's just wrong. Like, I can't. Again, sorry to cut you off. I know that sort of, obviously I've got a skewed opinion of Sadiq Khan and I've got a negative opinion of Sadiq Khan, but I can't really name a story where I've looked at it and I thought, yeah, I agree with him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't really seem to do any positives. And I don't know, if anyone wants to send me any positive stuff that Sadiq Khan has done, I'm sure he's done something. Just feel free to. I just can't. I don't know how he does it. He's been there for ages. I think it was like 2014 or 12 or 16.
2016 was a year that I saw. I mean, this is his second term, isn't it? And the elections are next year, so I think it is 2016. I mean, you're absolutely correct. But one thing that makes me laugh when you say anything against the government, the mayor, individuals, you're far right, you're an extremist, you're far left, you're racist. They just chuck it at you. And I think I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole entire system, and I think Khan is just a symptom of it. You look at government itself, Conservative and Labour, left, right. I think it's all melded into one big mess. I can't tell the difference between any of them anymore. And my government, or what's supposed to be representing me, just doesn't work. And it hasn't done for a great number of years. I mean, I've been on this planet for 45 years, and it probably hasn't worked for a lot longer than that. And we're getting to a point in our history where, the likes of what we're doing this evening, social media, worldwide communication, we've all got access to vast amounts more information than we ever did back in probably the 70s and the 80s. And we're learning things. We're waking up. 3 years ago, I was asleep. I'm probably half asleep now, but I'm more awake than I used to be. And you start seeing all these little and you get generations like my parents, your parents. Sorry, Mum, for what I'm about to say, but in their late 60s or 70s and maybe older, in some way, I think some of them are probably institutionalized because they look at what the BBC says, what the ITV says. Oh, yeah, that's what's going on. Bullshit. Go and look it up, research, and you'll find they're having the bloody wool pulled over our eyes on an industrial scale. That's
100%. Like you said earlier on, it's the sort of the political parties have basically all merged in together, and to sort of second your point, you could argue that the media is basically just parroting their ideals. Obviously, one of the subjects that you can't talk about on YouTube is like sort of what's happening in the old Ukraine situation. So I won't even go near it. I think I wouldn't have a channel, and I probably wouldn't have a grandma. I think grandma would disown me if I told her my opinions on the Ukraine situation. But they just sort of parrot it, and there's no sort of. You said your mum was in the chat as well, and my mum is literally like she knows about the channel. She's like you're gonna get murdered one day. You're gonna get killed, and I'm just like, nah, we'll be all right. She's pretty concerned, but I tell her that it's just jokes, which I guess it is. But
there's a friend of mine in the chat now, Dave, who I mentioned right at the beginning. He won't mind me saying this, but we've been friends for 25 years, and in certain videos, I mention lefties, and he hates it because he's Labour. He has been all his life, and he says, "I'm getting annoyed with you calling people lefties, blah blah." And it's the way it's all morphed because Dave is old Labour, you know, where the working person was looked after and thought about, and they were all drawn from the pits and other working class kind of backgrounds. And you get forward to today where, you know, I read something that Piers Morgan put on earlier where a woman can have a penis if they really want to. And what the fucking hell's going on with this world?
Oh, was that the Lib Dem leader?
Yes.
And he said the words, it was can one of those have one of those? And he said yes, clearly. And it's like, nah, mate, nah. Yeah, that's a bizarre thing, and that's pretty much one of those things that I try not to sort of go near on YouTube because I've just got too much to say, sort of when it comes to it, and there's no one really left to vote for because, like you said, they just parrot each other's ideas, and they're basically it's just who can be. Well, you've got the Conservatives, which should be right, but they're left. Then you've got Labour, which are very left, and you've just got a selection of left, and there's no one left to vote for.
No, that's right. And it's the system that puts them there that's the problem because they all need clearing out. I mean, as the saying goes, the last person that went into Parliament with honourable intentions was Guy Fawkes, and there's a lot to be said for that, you know. But the system is weighted in such a way that you'll never get rid of the buggers. You'll never get rid of the buggers.
No, especially the House of Lords. I don't know what's going on in the House of Lords. They've been there longer than the House of Lords itself.
I know. I mean, we hear the words "abolish the House of Lords" many, many times. I mean, you had the Archbishop of Canterbury standing up, giving it what for about migration the other day. I thought, oh, shut up and go back to church, you know. Don't. I could talk about that.
Yeah. No, I could ramble for hours, man.
Yeah,
I really could.
It's funny you mentioned that country that's got the yellow and blue flag, we'll call it.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
I did a live stream a few days ago where the word was mentioned a few times, and I found that live stream was demonetized. And I thought,
was it actually?
I wonder if that's why. I've appealed and it got remonetized, but it just shows how much they're looking at it, doesn't it?
Yeah, sorry about that. I probably shouldn't have said it. I didn't know to refer to that.
We'll probably get away with once.
Yeah. It's so bizarre. Like anyone that's obviously everyone in the chat, like obviously most of you I assume wouldn't have a YouTube channel, but it really is like I can't overstate the amount of like just constant thinking that goes on. It's just like an endless pit of thinking when you have a YouTube channel, and it's obviously it's great, but it's negative in that sense because you just constantly thinking like, you know, is your work going to get demonetized? And generally speaking, I don't actually turn ads on live stream because I think it's I don't think the revenue was sort of justified, but I guess it's just sort of different for everyone with like the stats and stuff. But for me, it didn't sort of make sense. And then you could just sort of not say what you want, obviously, because it is still YouTube and the rules are still there. But yeah, it's just it's not nice. So I was thinking today, it's a real shame that Rumble isn't because I made a video today and it was genuinely the hardest script that I've ever had to write. and you'll probably understand why. But basically, I find it fascinating. Basically, long story short, the most popular baby name in Berlin right now is Mohammed, and I find that fascinating for probably about 4,000 different reasons. For Berlin, I think that's. I mean, I don't know if you're a World War II guy, but that's like a signal, and writing that script was just very difficult because there was so much that I had to sort of leave out, jokes wise and stuff.
There are ways of putting things across on here. I mean, one of the favourites. I mean, you mentioned absolutely average. Russ, he went to a couple of, I'll call them meetings, should we say? And I looked at the footage. I thought, shit, Russ, you're going to get your ass handed to you by the YouTube Fort Police. And I think he's gotten away with it. But I remember people going to these things in Trafalgar Square and look at this car boot sale that I'm at, just saying keywords that the algorithm won't take any notice of. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you have to tread carefully sometimes. Willie, thank you very much for another $2 super chat. I appreciate that. Mainstream media lies. Listen to independent media. He's got a point, because we're all being led up the garden path by the mainstream. They're telling us what they want us to hear, not necessarily really what's going on. You get YouTube channels like me, you, and others propping up who've got a lot more to say. Sanity Checkers, £3 super chat. Great community of great minds. Thank you very much. And he's worthwhile checking out as well. Another one of those critical thinkers. This is a chat, everybody, beginning of the week with Andy the Gabby Cabby. And tonight we are with Clown World. Is it Clown World or Clown World YT?
Whatever works, to be fair. That I would have had Clown World, but that was obviously gone. It's not a new phrase, but it's I mean, there's no way to describe it. The other the other channel name that I had in mind, but I think it was too close to Bert with We Got a Problem, was I was going to call the channel just simply They Hate You.
It would have worked.
But I just don't think that anyone, I just think that subconsciously people aren't subscribing to a channel called They Hate You, because subconsciously you'd be like, no, they hate me. But do you know what I mean? And like you said, it would be absolutely right, because like I said earlier, they either can't fix the situation, especially with the economy, or they simply don't want to fix the situation with everything. And it's going to be an interesting 2024, because you've got the US election, which I am very excited for, and then you've got the UK election in the same year. And so we had the Brexit vote in 2016, and we also had let me know in the chat as well if I'm talking too fast, because I talk proper fast. I've been watching YouTube on like 2 times speed now for years, and it's literally changed the way that I talk. I talk way too fast.
I can keep up with you.
Perfect. I always think, because like my audience is obviously generally speaking older than myself. I've actually got a video, to be fair, coming out soon. It was on a 28-day period. 0% of my viewers were aged under 17. I know, and I'll get back to the 2016 and 2024 election in a second. Let me write that down before I forget. My memory is awful, so I'll write that one down on a notepad. But yeah, so 0% of my viewers in a 28-day period. Bear in mind, it was like 512,000 views in that 28 days, and 0% were under 17. And that is and the whole idea with the video is should the vote be raised? When I was a kid, I was like, nah, mate, I want to vote at 16. I want the vote. But when you get older, you think, no, I was an idiot at 16. Why would you give me a vote? It's I don't know what your opinions are on the voting age, or what the chat's opinion are, what the opinion is on the voting age of chat. But they're not watching it. They don't really seem to care, which is understandable, or maybe not.
Personally, I believe when you're of an age, I mean, a teenager today is a completely different animal to when we were kids, they very much believe they know everything already before they actually do. They're rulers of the world and they're in charge, and all the rest of it. And what they don't realise, their mind is still very malleable. They're still learning. They're still getting to know the world as it is. I mean, when I became of voting age, I voted Conservative. And you know why? Because my parents voted Conservative. I believed it was the right thing to do. You're impressionable. So if you suddenly let a million 16-year-old kids say they can vote and shove enough propaganda down their throat to push them in one way or another,
Who was the first? Who was the first prime minister that you remember, like from when you were a kid? For me, it was Tony Blair.
Margaret Thatcher.
Okay. Interesting.
I can only just remember the Falklands War in the early 80s. I would have been 4 or 5 years old tops, but I remember sitting in the living room. I mean, back in them days, you just got sporadic updates from the front, not real-time stuff like you have now. And I have very vague memories of watching updates of it on the telly, so that makes Margaret Thatcher stick in my mind. And then John Major, and around the time of the probably late 80s, early 90s, you were talking about the poll tax coming in. And by that time, my mother and father had split up. My father was a policeman, and they split up in about 84. It was around the time of the miners' strikes. Never saw my dad. He was pulling 18-hour shifts. And I ended up with my mum. I mean, Thatcher wanted to absolutely annihilate the unions. So that's another reason she stuck in my mind, because it's links to my own family history in a certain way. But the poll tax was an interesting one with the riots and everything, because you had the rates, you knew what you were paying and when, and what it was for. And all of a sudden, this new tax appears. And I remember my mum sitting there with, a pencil and paper, trying to work out if we were going to be okay or not. Very worrying times. So you remember them. They're just things that stick, and they do form your opinion later on. I mean, you say Tony Blair. Can you remember before that, or
no? No, Blair was the first, and I remember being sat in the kitchen, and it was coming up to the election with Tony Blair, and I remember my mum had to explain. Like, I was like, well, why would he leave? That doesn't make any sense. And they were like, no, clown, it's an election. Obviously, they didn't call me clown, but no, they had to explain to me, and like, I was just like, well, he's leading the country. Why would he leave? It just didn't make any sense. And I was that sort of age. I don't know when the Tony Blair election was, but that was basically where my mindset was. I was just like dribbling, like, oh, why can't this guy just stay? And that's the first one that I remember. To be fair, actually, so with the Falklands, right, I am a blank. So admittedly, I'll admit my flaws, right? I know nothing about the Falklands War. I've seen a few pictures. I'm familiar with the guy who obviously was on the Falklands guy with the burns on, that guy. So if you could give me a 60-second, what was up with what happened? Why were we at war with downweight Argentina?
Right. The very short version of it, the Falkland Islands, I suppose ownership or custody of which was disputed. They're our territory, and the Argentinians, who had another name for the Falkland Islands, which escapes me right now, believed it was their territory. We had a settlement on the Falkland Islands, only a very small one, and the political situation got heated. The Argentinians landed a force on the Falkland Islands and said, right, they're ours, we're taking them, and basically invaded. Margaret Thatcher at the time basically said, no, we're having none of this. She assembled a force, or we assembled a force. Across the Atlantic they went and took them back off the Argentinians. That's the long and short of it, really. The very, very
crazy. Where were they launching from?
No, you carry on. There you go.
Oh, is that the name of it?
I mean, we literally had aircraft carriers, seconded cruise liners, all sorts of things to get troops and equipment over there. It was absolutely
I've never
crazy.
thought about it. Yeah, that's quite a job launching from the sea, because even from launching from land, I mean, D-Day itself was obviously a mammoth undertaking that hasn't been seen since, and that was D-Day. And to launch it from boats, like a decent-sized invasion, to be able to sort of actually make traction. But yeah, and what year was that? Was it 84, did you say? Because that's quite a situation.
84 was the miners' strikes. I think the Falklands was 82. I'm sure it was 82. I shall Google it. There is a big Wikipedia article on the whole thing. It tells you what started it, what caused it, what happened, how it ended. It's all there.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look more into it, because, like I said, admittedly, there's a few things that I sort of, obviously sort of blind to the information. I sort of absorbed information about certain subjects like World War II and things like that. But yeah, I sort of completely, 1982, Tim S. put there, yeah. I basically skipped over the Falklands, and it does seem like quite a situation when you've got Argentina, which, I mean, not a superpower, but yeah. I'll have to have a look more into that. Yeah, Bloodnose put something in the chat. I will check that Wikipedia out when I'm at work tomorrow. I will read up on the Falklands.
I just quickly Googled Falklands War, and the Wikipedia article comes up page 1, position 1, so it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I remember 10 weeks. Oh, was it? Yeah, April to June. Oh yeah, I guess they had to wrap it up quite quick. To be fair, otherwise it would escalate.
It didn't last very long. It didn't last very long. I mean, you mentioned Simon Weston. That was a ship called I think it was the Galahad, one of the troop carriers, and it got bombed and attacked by Argentinian fighter jets, set on fire, and there was an awful lot of injured soldiers on that ship. Simon Weston being one of them, quite badly burned.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing how he recovered and as much as he could, and led the life he has. A lot of stories and a lot of memories come out of those days. Definitely. I mean, that fascinates me with wars anyway. The Second World War, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the Falklands War. There's stories of heroism. I mean, Trevor Colt puts regular hero stories on his Twitter feed, and also innovation, where technology is made to solve a problem in war that can be used later on. It's amazing what we put our minds to when we want to.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's great for innovation. Obviously, I mean, I think it's the worst thing that humans. I mean, the situation obviously over there is for the people in the middle. It's just politicians have just got the people paying the price. But yeah, for innovation wise, it's second to none. It's I mean, it started off the space race. It basically just, when you're put in a position where you've got to defend yourself against arguably like an entire continent, you have to think outside the box, and you really have to push to develop. And yeah, the country comes together and sort of sees you through it. But
I mean, I don't know how much you know about the early days of World War II. I mean, when we were talking before off air, it seemed to be your thing. But I remember there was a plan Hitler had to invade England via France, across the Channel with barges onto southern England, landing around Hythe and Folkestone and all that sort of thing, and pushing towards London. And there was a lot of plans in place to repel that invasion. And there was actually a what if scenario which I saw where it played out. And you see the concrete pillar boxes that still line parts of the south coast. Those were points of defence. And there were two lines of them. And I think what did Hitler in the end was a combination of the weather had turned, and also the Royal Air Force put up more of a fight than he was gambling on. And then
they did. It's
in reverse. From here to Normandy was that nothing short incredible.
Oh no, absolutely, and yeah, it's one of those things because they were there in occupied France for years, and obviously when you were saying about launching boats, they would have had the opportunity, and I don't know what they were sort of waiting for. I mean, on one, I don't. I mean, obviously they would have just run over England given the opportunity. I ended one of my videos actually the other day. I was like, I want to give a special thanks on this video to the English channel. Because it has done more than any politician ever could. And I just think it's so true because, I mean, if you've got any Americans in the chat here, any Americans, can you imagine if the US-Mexico border was a 7-mile stretch of water? Like, I know they're still going to come across a couple on the boats, but you would have first, you'd have a completely different country. But if you had a 7-mile stretch of water, that has done more than any politician ever could. And yeah, it pretty much saved us in World War II. And I am quite surprised that they didn't try and start some sort of offensive towards the UK. Obviously, they tried to come in sort of aerial-wise. The Germans did. But they just couldn't really seem to get a foothold. And I was saying to my mate the other day, actually, I'm exactly the same on the channel as I am in real life. But I was saying to my mate the other day about D-Day, like so you can imagine, like, you've landed on the beach and you could celebrate. However, you've got the entirety of Europe to get through. It's like, that's got to be such, like, no one had a good day on D-Day. It would it's just I couldn't even imagine. Like, I mean, I obviously I get stressed at work and things like that, and I throw me out. I got no chance against the guys in the U-boats, and not the U-boats, the guys in the sort of troop carriers going onto the beach, and the entirety of World War II. I mean, it's some brave guys, and it's a situation that you definitely don't want to be in. But like I said, I'm really surprised that the Germans didn't actually launch to try and invade Europe, because they were in France for years and years. I think they got in there in like 42 or something like that, or maybe earlier.
It was earlier than that. I mean, this was all part of the Blitzkrieg, where they just stampeded straight across Europe in no time at all, and took France very, very quickly indeed.
It's fascinating.
Got as far as our coastline, or the French coastline. Couldn't get any further.
It was such a you couldn't. So the way you simply couldn't learn everything that there is to learn about World War II. I think it's just fascinating. There's a great channel, Mark Felton Productions. You might have seen him. I'm not quite sure. Mark Felton.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's good. And there's just it's just there's so much to sort of absorb from World War II and the effects of World War One and then World War II. And admittedly, I don't really know a great deal about World War One. But it just seems to have kept on going, and the same situation that's going on over there, we should say, you could say is an offshoot of the sort of after effects of it. Just changed so much, and yeah, it's crazy. And I just yeah. I mean, obviously you've sort of limited us what you can say on sort of like the other side, and things like that. But I find that equally fascinating. Like, because obviously, so Germany surrendered. So in World War One, obviously, if let me know if in the chat. But basically, so in World War One, Germany surrendered to France in a train car, in a train carriage in a specific location. Fast forward to World War Two, when Germany had flipped the tables and they were making France surrender. The H-man, we'll call him, the Big Dolph, made France sign their surrender in the same train car, in the same location that they signed it all those years ago.
That's right.
And I was saying to my dad, like, this is before Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. He wasn't like the H-man. He wasn't doing that for like Instagram likes. Like that was like he was hell bent, and it's bizarre. Like his advisors must have been like, "Come on, mate, we're fighting a war. Can we just like keep going?" And he's like, "No, we need to get that train car in that location." It's fascinating how it begun, and it's not really that far ago in time. I think it was like 76. I had to Google it for a video the other day. I think it was like 76 years since. I don't know if it was the beginning or the end date, but it's not too far from World War II.
No, it isn't in the grand scheme of things. But banned again. Spitfire stopped Germans invading the Battle of Britain. It wasn't only the machinery; it was the men behind that machinery. I mean, I said before, I like the stories of heroism that come out, and there's one I read about an RAF pilot who was involved in a dogfight over England during the Battle of Britain, and his aircraft was severely shot up on fire, and he had to bail out. It's either that or die. And he was about to get out and jump, and he noticed another German aircraft in the distance. And do you know what he did? He got back in his seat, shot down that aircraft, and then he bailed out, obviously suffering burns. God. He won the Victoria Cross for that action. Unfortunately, this guy didn't survive the war. He was killed in action later on.
To go back out after that, do you know what I mean? Like I'll admit, right, guys, if I got shot down from an enemy aircraft, right, and I was in World War II, right, I'm literally, you will find me in a bubble bath for about 24 months.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm not going back out.
Roll the clock forward 70 years. This cab driver goes into a Royal Air Force museum in Tangmere, and they've got a section in there. I think it's called the Hall of Heroes or something like that. And I walk into this place and come face to face with a display cabinet with a burnt up flight suit and a Victoria Cross belonging to this very pilot I just described. And it's like, boom, I know that story.
Yeah.
You know,
that's crazy.
Incredible.
That's priceless.
And they got a brilliant flight simulator down there as well. I come across it one day when I was trying to find something to do while I was waiting for a passenger. But great little museum.
You mentioned your son's Xbox. Have you ever had to go on Flight Simulator?
He wanted me to download it. I haven't yet. I mean, the problem is he's got one of the older generation Xboxes with smaller hard drives, and it's cluttered with all this stuff. So I might need to clear a bit of space before I had to go at that. But it's
a big game.
Realistic.
It really does. It's a hell of a game. It's got so Flight Simulator has the entire world on it, so you can just fly from sort of anywhere. And for anyone sort of into aviation like yourself, it's quite a hell of a game. My first sort of couple of live streams, I did play Flight Simulator, and like I said earlier, I watched one of your live streams, and is when I got the idea to put the viewers' comments on screen. Because I think it's sort of nice to sort of engage like this one here. Peter Partington, I recognise him from my live stream. Sack the BBC. See, I love people like this. See, we're not even talking about the BBC. No one's mentioned the BBC in chat, and this guy just comes out the woodwork. Peter comes straight out the woodwork. Sack the BBC. Like, I love that.
Do you get it with your comments on your videos, where it'll be a subject and then somebody just comes up with something random, like sack the BBC or someone's a twat or something, just to put the point across? I think wonderful.
Yeah, no, I do actually. There's one commenter. It's like Moosey Chops, I think his name is, and he's been commenting almost day one, and right. I don't know what he's going on about half the time, but he just keeps commenting, so it's all good. That broccoli, I recognise that one as well. But yeah, no, like you said earlier, it's nice with the that's in there, broccoli. It's nice with like viewer engagement because it is quite a decent sort of community that you sort of build, and they sort of care, and it's sort of so one of the things it's difficult to sort of put across your personality, not only in 2-minute videos, but also when you're faceless. And obviously, I sort of feel with you, I think your edge is that there's a lot of personality. Do you know what I mean? It's there's a lot of you in it. You know, it's sort of a mixed channel, and I think it's sort of quite nice in that sense. Peter Partington, thank you, Mr. Clown. No, I appreciate anyone who just comes out the woodwork unannounced and says, right, we need to get rid of the BBC with no prior warning or no conversation. I like that. Mossy Chops is great. Blood Nose put. What's that band again? Do you want to read that one? Air Cadet. He deserves the
band again. I was an air cadet at the Kent Migrant Centre at Ramsgate. You could feel the war and vibes when there. Was that 2433 Squadron? If so, you were my arch enemy. I was at 438 Squadron in the middle of Margate. I'm not sure where you are now, but where that turned into the Migrant Centre, 2433 and 438 actually merged together into one squadron, and it's been rebadged 2433 Titanic Squadron, and 438 is no more. But yeah, let me know if you're still local or you've moved away or when you were in the Air Cadets. But certainly some wonderful times up there, especially flying the Chipmunks just across the road. I used to love that. But anyway, yes, you were saying.
Yeah, no, that's quite cool. So were you in the sort of similar sort of thing with like the cadets and things like that? I sort of skipped that.
We shared
when I was a kid.
We shared well, they call it the drill hall, but we shared a hall with the Army cadets where we were, and I loved aviation and loved planes all my life. That's why I went into the cadets, and I wanted to join the Air Force. And I was in the I was in the RAF recruitment office with my ex-army father at the age of 16. I wanted to be a pilot, and they said, "You're not clever enough. Go and get a degree." And when I turned around and said, "Well, you took Douglas Bader, didn't you?" That didn't go down very well. And I went and got A levels and went to university, and life kind of takes you elsewhere. And you know, it didn't happen, but I'm still as in love with aviation as I always was. Band again, Mile End London Air Cadet in London. I flew over Dover. Yep, Chipmunk training planes. They've got a museum at Manston, just across from the old squadron building there. They got a Chipmunk in the museum. You stand and look at it and you think, I went flying in them, and they're in a museum. It makes you think about the passage of time again.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. No, the passage of time, that's something that I try and sort of put forward in my channel, and just sort of how things change. But someone in there as well, he's got the username Reform BBC, and again, yeah. I think anyone that has a username and has that much dedication and that much hate for the BBC, again, is a friend in my book. I've recently cancelled my TV license. It was in January that I cancelled my TV license, and it always makes me laugh because I'll make a video and I'll put like, oh, I cancelled my TV license 6 months ago, and I'll always recommend that people do the same. But I always get obliterated in the comments of people like, obviously they're nice about it and everything like that. It's a good community, but like they will say like, I cancelled my TV license 9 years ago, and it's like fair play. And then you'll get the ones that will be like 14 years without paying them a penny, and it's like fair play. But yeah, I don't know if you do the TV license and stuff, but it was obviously you got a family and stuff, so it's like, to be fair, I got 2 kids that live with me, but we just watch YouTube and stuff. But I would recommend anyone in the chat that is thinking about cancelling their TV license, if you just watch YouTube and you don't watch live TV, as long as you fit the rules, it really was the easiest thing I've ever done, is cancel my TV license. And
it's on their website, isn't it? There's a little obscure link at the bottom. I don't need a TV license, or have they moved it?
Yeah. No, it's I'm sure if you Google, you'd probably still get redirected to the right place. But they've sent me so I cancelled in January. I got a letter in Feb saying that I'm all good for, it was either 12 or 24. You'll have to forgive me. I can't remember if it was 12 or 24 months that they won't contact me. and I've had no visits, no inspections, no letters or anything. Blood, no, banned again, put not paid one for 30 years. See, it's absolutely fair play. Fair play. 1999 was Kirkcaldy Valley. 1999 was my final instalment of the TV tax. That's cancelling it before it was fashionable. Yeah, Matty England. I can't believe something like that is legal in the UK. I was shocked when I read about it. I 100% agree. So like I said earlier about ULEZ, and if you went to the American founding fathers and told them that there's a tax to get into London, if you told, first of all, you'd have to tell them what a TV is. But if you told the founding fathers of America in 1770 odd that you need a tax to have a TV, again, they would say, grab the musket, lads, we're going in. And it's just wrong. So reform BBC 2 years. Oh yeah, 2 years free. Yeah. So anyone in the chat, if you cancel your TV license, as long as it's all above board and legit. Like my dad was like, oh yeah, I'm going to cancel TV license. I was like, Dad, you actually watch TV? He was like, oh, I'm going to cancel it. I was like, don't, because like, just don't. But if you actually don't.
So there's two things that spring to my mind. First of all, the founding fathers of America. That it's how we react to what our governments do to us. I mean, if you look in America at the moment, it's very publicized. There's an awful lot of problem with gun violence, school shootings, people getting blown away in the streets, crime-related stuff. And then they go, whoa, how the hell are all these people getting these guns? And then you go and talk about Second Amendment rights. And if you mention... I mean, obviously, probably people know, but Second Amendment of the Constitution allows a person to legally have a gun for the means of self-defense of themselves and others, i.e. their families. But if you mention to an American, we're going to take away your Second Amendment rights, we're going to get rid of all the guns, there'll be civil war, I guarantee it.
Yeah, 100%.
You look over at France. France is another one. They changed the pensions. They went mad.
Yeah.
We sit in the UK and we get so much bullshit thrown at us. What do? We sit and take it.
I was saying to, funny you mentioned that. I was saying to my dad about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I admire France. I don't know what it is with France, but their threshold for take to the streets is so low. You've got the so-called French Revolution, and again, I'm not as familiar with that. But you've got the in World War II, you had the France like the resistance, and even to this day and age, like if the government raised the pension age, they take to the streets. Like fair play for that. Like if they raised our pension age, like you've got a clown moaning on YouTube. We're not taking to the streets, but France really sort of push it. But going back to sort of what you were saying about these sort of firearms sort of situation in America, it's obviously there are obvious downsides to having that amount of guns in a society. There are clear-cut downsides because like my ex is a nutter. My mum, I love her to bits, but she could probably just chill out a little bit. Do I think the average every person on the street should have a firearm? Probably not. However, so when it comes to these sort of founding fathers in America, obviously, I don't want to speak for them and sort of things like that, but they sort of recognized that a government at some point is going to go sour. So it was like they essentially made a rule that but the First Amendment is obviously you can say what you want, and then the Second Amendment is that you can have a firearm, and that right shall not be infringed. So first of all, and I think it was very ahead of their time. And again, I don't want to speak for the founding fathers. I don't know Americans raging in the chat. Feel free to rage though. But I just think for the founding fathers to forecast, not only is the government going to A, go sour, but B, they have to put the rule in that it shall not be infringed. And it's like, it's the only rule because they just knew that the government would try and infringe it because I don't know. I'm sure France had guns at some point, and I'm sure the government at some point thought, no, we can't let them have we can't let them have weapons. We got to take them away. I don't know if England's ever. I'm sure at some point we've had sort of freedom to access and things like that. But I think when you look at it from that perspective, in the sense of that they were sort of, it was like a fail safe, because they knew that that the government's going to go sour, but if the people are armed, well, they can't really go that sour. They can't, lock. I mean, it was only 2 years ago they were locking me indoors and banning grandma from Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know if I got that completely wrong with the American. Oh yeah, yes, yeah. So Willie put, you nailed it, Clownwood. Does that make sense? Like, it's not. Like, obviously there are downsides with the sort of mostly the inner city violence, because you mentioned the situation again. I think I'm speaking too fast, but you mentioned the. I've re-recorded. It must have been about a dozen videos from speaking too fast. But the situation in America with the school situation, that's a very small sort of segment. It's mostly just inner city. I think Chicago hasn't gone 5 days without a. I don't know how to sort of use the words on YouTube, but a fire bang incident into someone fallen down situation, and they've gone like 5 years without one, or they haven't gone 5 years without one, and yeah, there's definite pros and cons, but long story short, I just like the idea that someone thought, no, this government is going to mess up. They're perfect now, but they're going to mess up, and that's it. And that was 300 years ago. They didn't have the information that we're going on now. You said earlier that you're quite awake, but not fully awake, and I don't think you can ever be fully awake. I don't think anyone can be fully awake, but for them to foreshadow that they're gonna try and take your guns at some point. But yeah, Kirk Valley, we've had a license since 1987. Willie put, we have mental issues to deal with.
My uncle just come up with something. He lives in the UK. Gary Reynolds had an air rifle on a field with the farmer's permission and had armed response turn up. Oh my God!
Really?
I don't think he's ever told me that one before. But there you go.
That's crazy. Yeah.
There was an interesting program come out years ago, Bowling for Columbine. Don't know if you've ever seen it. It was with a documentary maker, Michael Moore. And he walked into a bank in America and opened a bank account. And do you know what they gave him as a welcome present? A gun.
No.
There you go, Mr. Moore. A gun.
No, they didn't, did they?
Yeah.
A welcome gift at a bank.
Yeah, I'm going back probably 20 years when I saw that.
I don't know much about Michael Moore. From what I know, I'm not a huge fan. I haven't seen that, but a welcome gift. So again, so I like to think. Obviously, I have biases, right? But I like to think I'm quite straight down the middle, right? So here's me, right? I've probably just gone on like a 10-minute rant about why people should have the right to bear arms, right? So that was admittedly, say, a 5-10 minute rant of why people should have the right to bear arms. And on the other end, here's me making the reasonable conclusion, and I think chat would agree, it's a reasonable conclusion. Don't give arms as a welcome gift at a bank. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to be unbiased, that you can sort of say, yes, have access, but no, don't give it a welcome gift at a bank. But I just think that, yeah, society is sort of so split these days that you've got to sort of pick one thing or the other. One thing that I did want to actually pick your brain on, actually, and I'm glad that I remembered, right, it's completely changing the subject, and I'd like to sort of chat to see if they can sort of kick in as well. Right, Michael Jackson, right, you don't know what tangent this is going to go on, right? So I've asked my parents, I did a live stream and I asked them, and I kind of got some interesting answers, right? Right. So obviously you're older than me, and you remember Michael Jackson, right? When he changed color, right? What do you remember from? I know it was over a few years period, but what do you remember when Michael Jackson changed color? Was anyone upset? Was anyone moody? Like, was anyone highlighting that? I mean, the geezer's gone white. It's a bit odd because for me personally, I think I would have a second channel called Michael Jackson Clown World. The geezer's gone white. I think I'd have enough content to point out the absurdity of a person changing color. But long story short, do you remember anything from when Michael Jackson, I don't know what year it was. Do you remember anything from when he changed color? Was anyone upset? Anything? The theme, not to put words in my mouth, but the theme that I got from my chat, from the people in my chat, was that people didn't really care.
No. All I remember, and this is very vague again, he had some kind of accident in a show, something to do with pyrotechnics. Now, I think his hair.
It was his hair. Yeah,
it was his hair. That's right. And he suffered severe burns. And I think, you know, something happened up there, and you know, there was a program not so long ago about, you know, the examination of him after he was deceased, and certain things came out, and you do wonder whether there was some kind of after effect from that, which made him think, I don't like myself anymore, and things started, you know, changing and morphing. And I mean, somebody said he had vertigo, the skin pigmentation disease. I mean, that's very well publicized, but I only remember the initial kickoff point more than anything else. I mean, people in the chat are saying it's the Pepsi advert. I remember that. I mean, Gary Reynolds, the very first time.
What are they saying? That was the peak, or that was the downfall? What was the Pepsi ad? I'm unfamiliar with that.
It was years and years and years ago. He did an advert for Pepsi Cola, and in the production of this advert, there was some kind of accident where his hair was set on fire. And I remember reading some articles that.
Oh, okay. I thought he was on stage. Was that an advert then?
Yeah, it was an advert. I think he was on stage, but it was part of the advert. It was all staged for the advert. And there's talk that this is like the crucial point in his life where everything started changing from black to white. Did something happen to him, either as a psychological sense, if you understand me, you're looking in the mirror and not like what was looking back, or something else happened? It just seemed to emanate from that key point. And I don't remember much else apart from that. But like you said, I don't think people really gave a shit back then. But again, it goes to the point I made earlier: how more accessible we are to all this information now than we were before, and people do care because it's put in front of us.
No, 100%. And I think so. When you said earlier, obviously, I mean, I swear in real life, but I don't swear on the channel. I would swear now, but I'm not going to. It would just be out of character. But yeah, no, I try not to swear. But I think so. For me, growing up, we were basically, I don't know about yourself, but like we were basically colorblind, and that's what fascinates me. Like, I don't know if anyone in the chat remembers the films Blade. I don't know if Andy, I don't know if you remember, if you know Blade with Wesley Snipes, right? That was other than Die Hard, right? That was my favorite film as a kid growing up, right? And obviously Blade, Wesley Snipes is black, right? But it never, you could have talked to me on the playground and I was basically Blade, but it never occurred to me that Blade was black. Like, if you'd have said to me, describe Blade, I'd have said, well, he's just, half vampire and he's angry. He's having none of it and he's taken back his city. And I wouldn't have described him as black. And I think we were basically colorblind. And let me see when Michael Jackson changed color. I don't know what the Google results on that one are going to come up with. When did Michael Jackson change color? But I think we were, so again, so I've tried to ask my parents, I've tried to find news articles about what the situation was back then when he changed the color. And I just think that people didn't really seem to mind, which just seems like a complete world away from where we are today. 1982 was when he started, and it took 10 years. So yeah.
Sometime after Thriller. I mean, that's
was it.
That's my earliest memory of him. I've got a very vague memory of sitting down in my grandmother's living room with my uncle Gary, who's in the chat at the moment. It would have been my mum there as well. And I remember watching Thriller on the TV. And it would have been the very early 80s, so it might have
Thriller
been
is so good, man.
out. Yeah,
Thriller it's just. I think his music is. I mean, sort of like it's just. It's just sort of timeless. You could argue that he's probably like the sort of most well-known musician of all time, and it really is just timeless. But the way that he would make music videos like 10, 15 minutes long, was sort of pretty groundbreaking, to be fair.
Here's another thing. Michael Jackson's loss of his dark complexion is mostly attributed to a genetic skin condition called vitiligo.
Vitiligo,
patches of his skin to turn white. So I think it's a combination of things, really, by the looks of it.
It's so strange because he was a good-looking guy, and speaking as a straight man or cis or whatever they call us these days. No, great guy, great music. It always makes me laugh. I don't know if anyone, if anyone in chat knows the "You Rock My World" video with Chris Tucker, when he's like, I don't know if you remember at the start of that video, he's like, "I'm going to get that girl at the bar," and Chris Tucker's like, "No, you're not going to get that." Like, he literally looks like an alien. It's so sort of sad what happened to him, and
where are we? Where's that comment gone?
I always tried to put sort of comments, even when I'm not sort of referencing them. I always try and sort of put comments because it's they do sort of come out with some crackers.
Tiger. That was the pairing in Blade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Snipes and Christopherson.
What a duo! What an absolute duo! Blade 2. What an absolute film! I might actually show that to my son. He's only 7, so I don't think I should. I think I'll pause that. What a film! But no, like I said, it never occurred to me as a kid. No, you go.
I was going to say, your kid's similar age, because I told you the age gap with mine, like 10 years.
Yeah, 7 and 9. He's proper into WWE at the moment. I tried to show him The Rock versus Stone Cold yesterday, and he said he didn't want to watch it because they're just doing baby punches. And I was like, mate, no, it's The Rock and Stone Cold. And he's coming, he full on turned it off because he said he was doing baby punches. Like, come on, man. But that was always my guy, was Stone Cold. I don't know if my dad always used to go on about British Bulldog and things like that. That was way ahead of my time.
Yeah. Was it Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks?
That was it. Giant Haystack. He would get on about him as well.
Yeah, I remember them. But, what's happening with your channel now? What are you going to be doing? How often are you doing it? What's going on in Clown World? What can we expect?
I've just googled Giant Haystacks. Obviously, I'll tell you about Clown World. That geezer is giant. He is giant. That Giant Haystacks guy. That is an absolute unit. But no, so with Clown World daily videos, there's too much degeneracy. Obviously, I'm working at the moment, so I do one a day. I'd like to do 2 a day, or at least 1.5, in the sense of one video, then 2, then 1, then 2, then 1, then 2. I'd like to do that. I think that would be a good format that I can do, because I still want to keep a good quality, because And I could just throw them out there left, right, and centre, but I want to sort of put a bit of sort of effort into them and research. And I like to have a twist in my videos. I don't. There's been so many times when I've not made a video because there hasn't been a second level to it. If that makes sense. Like once I did so I did a video about Sadiq Khan, who was making a slavery museum. Again, I probably shouldn't use that word. We'll call it the Big S. So he was making a Big S museum in London. So Sadiq Khan was making a Big S museum in London, right? So I Googled. So Sadiq Khan is originally, or his parents are from Pakistan. So I Googled how many of the big S's there are at the moment in Pakistan. And it turns out there's almost 3 million.
Wow.
Current day, 3 million S's in modern day in 2023, almost 3 million. But he's building a S museum. God damn, YouTube is hard. He's building an S museum. He's yeah, banned again. You can say it, but I'm honestly, you guys, you don't even know. Yeah, so we'll call it S basically. So yeah, so he builds an S museum in London. Meanwhile, in his original country, there's almost 3 million S's. Like, how does that make sense? Like if you care about human suffering, you should at least, sort the situation out. Like, that seems so like I was saying, so I like to have a twist in my videos, and I don't really sort of make them. So I kind of think that there's a lot of value, to be fair, to sort of, I don't want to, obviously I'm biased and I sort of think that my videos are sort of good, but I think there's a lot of value because I put way more effort in than reward out, but I enjoy it. And yeah, I think people get a lot of value just simply because I enjoy it. And I will sit there and I will put 20 minutes worth of effort in for a 3-second clip at the beginning if it's funny enough. And I will. But yeah.
Well, it's like the you mentioned about the S's and Sadiq Khan, and it's like they want to prove their worth by making a statement against history.
Yes.
I mean, another one that springs to mind straight away is Baden Powell. And everything he did, but because he had certain sympathies with what doesn't match up with a modern day narrative, they want to scrub him from history.
Do you mean Enoch?
No, I know why you assume.
I didn't even know whether to say his name or not. That's how bad YouTube is. I didn't even know whether to say his name or not.
And there was
what was
Lord Nelson as well. Had certain sympathies with, Atlantic slave traders, but look what happened at the Battle of Trafalgar. They would cancel him based on the slave issue rather than what he did at the Battle of Trafalgar, which cost him his life. It's like they want to make a statement against very history itself. And after all, isn't that what we learn from? Isn't that how we don't?
I always say, and so to sort of paraphrase it, the best way to learn how to do something right is to do it wrong. And I always say to my daughter, and I'll say it to my son when he's sort of age and he's off the Xbox. I basically said, the first time you do something, it's terrible, it's awful, throw it out the window, it's gone. And then the second time you get a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and you just sort of progressively sort of get there. I don't. Do you still have your first video up on YouTube?
Somewhere, yeah.
I bet it's awful, but it's good awful because you have to start somewhere. But yeah, carry on.
While you're talking, I'll see if I can find it. It's probably here somewhere. I've apart from the odd thing, I never delete anything apart from the odd thing. I might make things private or whatever.
Yeah, no, I do only because mine's quite controversial. To be fair, like I could, if anyone looks at my channel and says that's pretty controversial, I can't even dispute it. So when you asked for a video tonight, I gave you like an uncontroversial one because I didn't want I didn't want Shamima Begum flying across the screen halfway through the stream.
We'll play your video, shall we? The one about the kneeling. Just so people can see. What you're
it's
about.
An interesting one.
This. All right, let's pull this up. It's called "Kneeling is Back, but Worse." That's just what I do. I mute your mic and mine just to take the sound feedback away, and then I'll play it.
Perfect. So when it comes to activism in sports, it used to be isolated. It used to just be one man giving his opinion. But now we've reached the point where it's being organised and pushed within the teams themselves. Because we have this headline here which says, Football Australia expects rainbow symbol clearance at the Women's World Cup. Now obviously you know these people are going to wear their fancy little armbands. But that's not why I brought you here today. Because 10 paragraphs into the article, we have this line here. It's from James Johnson, the Chief Executive of Football Australia. He says, we're talking to our players about what issues they might want to express themselves on during the Women's World Cup. Meaning that instead of isolated incidents, you'll now have hundreds, if not thousands, of mini little Greta Thunbergs reminding you that you're a bad person. And this is the chief executive on the sport inviting more propaganda, completely going against what the fans want. He says one of the key learnings for us as a host with the Qatar World Cup was seeing how players wanted to use that platform to push issues that were important to them. Because who wants to see football when you can just see rainbow flags and pure cringe? But hang on a second, it's the Women's World Cup. What am I saying? No one's going to watch it anyway. Come on. That outro does make me laugh. As cringe as it is, to be fair, I do always laugh at my own stuff. It's just like halfway, because obviously when you write the scripts, I don't know if you script or whatnot. I'd love to know, but I wrote that script and I wrote it in like halfway through the paragraph. I wake up and I'm like, hang on, it's women's football. No one's watching women's football. What we do? And then like I throw my mic, and it's it does make me chuckle. I do laugh. I probably laugh more than the audience, to be fair. But as long as you can make yourself laugh. But yeah, I was going to say, do you script your videos? But first, what did you think of the video? Was it too quick, too slow, not enough on screen, too much?
It was perfect. I mean, as we were discussing beforehand, if you go too far, like 5, 6, 10, 20 minutes, people start drifting off. You know, I find little 3-4 minute sound bites are absolutely perfect. In answer to your question, do I script my videos? No, I don't. What I actually do, I'm very good at ad lib and very good at creating a script on the fly. I sit there with an article, and it's probably from previous experience with stuff I've done. I memorize key facts about the story I want to talk about. I will then make the video, and I will just do the thing generally in 1, maybe 2 takes. I mean, it's like an example of an error. I could go, the rain in Spain falls lighter on the plant. Oh shit, start again, you know. But generally, I just ad-lib it straight through like a conversation, no script. And it's always worked for me.
Yeah, no, that is, I'm just putting in chat, that is quite a skill indeed, to be fair. I'm trying to sort of reply to chat as well, but to sort of ad-lib, because I'm quite good at speaking, obviously, like I've spoken here for like an hour and a half or whatnot, but like because mine are straight, short, snappy, to the point, I say a lot of ums and ahs, And so my first videos, you mentioned earlier actually that that you do sort of like most of it on the phone, and I remember I used to do all of mine in one take. And if you ever want to see some progression, go and watch my first video on the channel, and then go and watch my latest video on the channel, and then look at the progression. And it's night and day. But it's so like when I used to do them in one take, and you've got to like, so when you sort of see people sort of like on TV reading teleprompters, I really think I'd struggle to sort of do that. Not in sort of like a conversation sort of piece, but just like sort of breath man. Like there's when you have a YouTube channel, obviously like you got to be an editor, you've got to be an audio guy, you've got to be a researcher. It really is. It's quite fascinating. And a lot of these skills, I did media in college, but none of it I've applied here in any way, shape, or form. And that was for 2 years of media. But again, none of it I've applied. But no, it's fascinating just how many jobs you have to sort of learn. But was it 2020 that you said that you started it?
Yeah, I literally March 2020, when everything got shut down. It's funny. There was me. I wrote to our local MP and I said, "Look, I've just been told I've got to stay at home, but I've got loads of people on holiday who are relying on me to get home. This just isn't going to work. What do I do?" And he said to me, "Go and get them. What choice have they got?" So there was me and another guy went and got everybody home. And then after that, there wasn't anything. And that's when YouTube started. And as I said, I was in here and I pretty much operated the same way. I just talked into a phone, just said what was on my mind. And it's probably more of a simplified version of what I do now. I'm just a lot better at saying what's on my mind after about 4,000 videos or something daft like that.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. So the thing that not anxiety, but the thing that gives me the biggest, and it occurred to me one day, the sort of solution for it. But the big thing that gives me the biggest anxiety, right, when it comes to YouTube, is I keep a few videos ahead, and it's sort of like I'll think to myself, well, I have nothing to say. I got nothing to comment on, but it's because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And you sort of like, obviously I have nothing, because it's like if I made a video, like let's say Meghan Markle pooed herself on stage, that hasn't happened yet. So I can't comment on it, but it will happen. So it's like, you've got to sort of get into that mindset that the stories will happen and you will be able to comment on them. Band again put, cab driver used to rambling on and on, mate. I was going to say, I put into one of the comments, I was going to say that typical Peter Kay been busy quote, but I forgot that one.
Yeah, been busy, mate. What time did you start? Those are the regular questions. With airport work, we don't get that really. It's usually how many of these have you done today, or how many miles have you driven today? But you know, the circuit with the drunks on a Friday night or flow to the shops, it's been on long, been busy. What time did you start? Same old questions.
Yeah, I can imagine. Willie put there, new subscriber. Yeah, no, Andy's good, Willie. You'll like him. It's quite sort of. So to be fair, Willie, you probably did. So when I started my channel, I had in mind that, believe it or not, it was going to be about 80% American politics. Okay. And obviously, it's basically when I do a video of an American situation, I don't really get a great deal of views, obviously, because I'm not a quote authoritative voice on American situations. Someone put in chat, blood nose Tucker Carlson. I love Tucker Carlson. I can't stress how much I love Tucker Carlson. But yeah, so when I started my channel, I wanted it to be 80% America, and yeah, I just think it's fascinating, because I was going to make earlier actually the point that next year we've got the American election and the English election. Probably, I think ours is May and theirs will be November 6th or whatever. That's fascinating. So in 2016, I stayed up for Brexit and I watched that all through the night. That was beyond fascinating to watch that develop throughout the night live. And then also the 2016 Trump election. Peter Partington, you just put it up there. Go watch on Redacted. Great channel as Redacted is a great channel. I will. They're definitely clown approved. But yeah, watching 2016 develop over the night was great. It's definitely sort of sculpted me politically. Cruel Birab put, oh dear, a Tucker Carlson fan. Well, I like his ability to deliver terrible news in a funny way. It's a bit similar to my channel. Terrible news. So I was saying to my parents the other day, the analogy of my channel is basically, have you ever seen the Titanic? So you know when they're playing the cello or the violin, I don't know which one it is. Someone in the chat will let me know if it's the cello or the violin that they're playing in the Titanic when it's sinking. It's basically my channel is basically that violinist, but he's making iceberg jokes. Okay. If that makes sense. Like we're going down, but like what you're doing next week is basically the theme of the channel. If that makes sense. Yeah. Iceberg jokes and we're going down.
Well, would you believe it? We've been nattering for an hour and 36 minutes.
I know. I could honestly, I could just talk for hours and hours and hours.
It's flowed quite well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. I mean, I usually do an hour, and I'm watching the clock going. I thought we can go on and on and on and on and on. We could do this another time. I'll have you back
we could. Yeah. I find that, not to ramble on again, but yeah, I find shorter and sweeter. So I've said to myself that I'm going to limit my last two live streams. I'm going to limit myself to an hour, to sort of keep it sort of short and sweet. But yeah, if you want to do that again at some point, let me know. But no, I've definitely had fun talking to you. You got a lot to say, and I want to talk more about World War II because there's a lot to go there.
Definitely a subject that I absolutely love. But folks, if you haven't done so already, I know probably got a fair number of Clown World subscribers here this evening. So hello to you guys and welcome, and thank you for joining us. Those of you that haven't subscribed to me, please consider doing so. Harmless plug there. If you haven't done so already and you want to mine, please subscribe to Clown World. It's been a great chat tonight. I really enjoyed it. Really flowed well. Talked about lots of stuff. As I said, come back on here anytime. We'll certainly do this again because I reckon we got loads and loads and loads more in the tank we could talk about. Definitely. What I usually do with people that come on is give you your last words, let you finish up, and then we'll disappear.
Perfect. Yeah, no, so I got something lined up. Right. So anyone in the chat, right, watching this. So how many? So there's 70 people in the chat. Right. If there is one thing, right, that you could, and we're going to turn up the energy levels to a 12 out of 10 for this one here, Andy. Right. If there is one thing, and I know it's 10:30 at night, 20 to 11, right. If there is one thing that you absorb from today, right, England is the 7th most populated country on planet Earth. There's like 187 countries or something. We are number 7 for population density. So when people say England needs to have more migrants and we need to accept more and we need to absorb more, we are 7th. We have clearly done our job. Even if we were all English, there's still, say, 170 odd countries below us that should be on that in the queue, so to speak. But for us to be 7th and for England to be still called a racist country and an uneven country, it doesn't make any sense. And long story short, people throughout your life will try and gaslight you. left, right, and centre through multiple different things. But if anyone tries to gaslight you, and you shouldn't accept it, if someone says something incorrect, you shouldn't accept it. But if anyone tries to gaslight you about migration, just remind them that England, and you can look it up on Wikipedia, it's the pinned tweet on my Twitter. If you want to have a look at it, the chart's there and it describes the information and everything like that. It's the pinned tweet on my Twitter. England is the 7th most populated country on earth. We've done our job when it comes to migration. We're even, Stephen. Happy days. Leave us alone. You've come through 17 countries rather. Stopping one of them is basically my final.
Well, it goes to the old World War II days, doesn't it? We could stop them then. Why can't we stop them now? It's crazy. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on. We will definitely do this again. Really enjoyed the chat, and we'll try and plan out something, a little bit more specific, maybe to talk about, or have another general chit chat. Either way, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
I always think, just to cut you off, I always think like an anniversary interview or something like that. I don't know when your anniversary is of your channel, but if like a Q&A about sort of like, Andy and why you started and things like that, and things that are important to you, we could do that. But yeah,
I'll have to check the start date, because I think that's on the about page on the channel, isn't it? I'll have to have a look at that. But I don't know whether it's coming up or I've passed it. But thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Really enjoyed it. Please, if you haven't done so, make sure you hit the like button, because that is the thing that makes the algorithm spread these things everywhere. Leave comments. Thank you very much, everybody. Please subscribe to both channels, and I will see you tomorrow with more content starting from 8 o'clock. If you can hang on for a minute or two once we go offline, that'd be great. And everyone else, toodaloo.